Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. I believe it was for all of the four belts. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Um, but eventually, after 9 rounds, I think it was during the ninth round, Usyk eventually got Daniel Dubois out of there. There was some bit of controversy, I guess, earlier on. There was a bit of a low blow. A lot of people thought it was a legitimate shot. I will get your guys' thoughts on that. I think Dubois possibly exceeded expectation. He did okay in there. I think he got outboxed for most parts. I gave him a couple of rounds, I think. But Usyk, he responded really well to that body shot that put him down for a couple of minutes. And then he just annihilated Dubois pretty much from those rounds onwards and forced a stoppage. Josh, give us your take on what you thought.
Yeah, good fight actually. I remember when it was announced. I was kind of lukewarm on it as far as what could potentially happen, and I felt that Usyk he would pretty much run the show. Though it turned out that while he was able to run the show somewhat, it wasn't without a little bit of, I guess you can say, adversity in some regards, as you mentioned, with the knockdown that came at the or in the fifth round. So I've seen varying angles and things of that nature on the actual shot, and I guess it could be considered borderline in some sense. And one of the things that was pointed out was the fact that the ref never established the actual belt line, at least for the viewing audience, as far as what would be allowed and what would be considered illegal. So when you take it from that standpoint, of course, that opens up the floodgates as far as opinions regarding such. Me seeing it, I kind of can see it both ways. There are some arguments for it being, hey, somewhat clean. There's other arguments for it. Hey, it was a little bit below that belt line, so it's the referee's discretion, and ultimately that's what it did come down to. How good of an angle the referee actually had on it, not sure, but it is a matter of seconds or a split second in those types of moments. And his judgment call was one that was against the grain as far as what more of the viewing audience was able to capture. But that aside, in the contest in itself, I thought it was a story of the fundamental skill set of Usyk, who was far superior than Daniel Dubois, who one could argue who is obviously, I guess you can say, the bigger fighter, though not by much, not exactly by as much as I thought it would be. He's a bigger fighter, seemingly the stronger fighter, of course, and definitely, as we know, the younger fighter, being around 10 years younger than Usyk. So you never know in those types of situations. In many cases, youth prevails, but where Dubois lacks certainly is on the skill side, and for that matter, it was a tough proposition for him dealing with Usyk, who was really working the jab, and actually you could see he was confusing Dubois at some points. And I give it to Dubois for lasting as long as he did, as mentioned, especially in light of landing that shot in the fifth that stirred up a ton of things, but he didn't take advantage in the way that he probably could have. He should have been all over Usyk from the moment that he was back up, or at least the action was back resumed, and he didn't do that because I think that is a part of the kind of growth process that he has been going through. And uh, realistically, what I was thinking before the fight commenced was the fact that the WBA belt or some version of it that Daniel Dubois was able to win when he beat Trevor Bryan gave him a false sense of being on that championship level, when in reality there's still a ton of things he had to grow on. And from me seeing him, at least prior to this fight, what I had seen up to this point, I don't feel like there were a lot of changes since he actually went through that fight with Joe Joyce, where he ultimately lost, had his eyes shut. But I will say, just in seeing this and at least how he was operating in some aspect, he has worked on some things, but not necessarily those things that would be the fundamental things that can take him to another level. So I think he's going to have to go back and continue to work on that. And being that he is, I think, around 26 or somewhere in that age, he has time to grow. So it all depends on how he comes back from this. And then another elephant in the room is him being taken out with the jab. Was it more frustration, or was he ready to kind of just tap out at that particular point? I don't know. I thought that he would get up from the shot that ultimately did him in, but maybe he saw the writing on the wall in some sense. So, my 2 cents on it: Alexander Usyk, he moves on. Hopefully, we get that Tyson Fury fight, which is pretty much a fight that now some people may have some different feelings on. But for Daniel Dubois, we'll see what he's made of. He goes back to the labs, work on that fundamental stuff that probably kind of allowed him, or he skirted in some sense because he was on a little quick trajectory, knocking out a ton of opponents that he should have been able to knock out. So we'll see what happens with him as he moves forward. But hey, there's some other heavyweights in the division as well that could make things interesting. I'm sure we'll get to them.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I just I got a bit perplexed with Alex. Alex seems to have had a connection issue, possibly. It's messed up my screens. We've got split screens going on.
I thought it was a cool new style.
Yeah, I might just keep it like that because I can see your whole face. Dear me. Anyway, hopefully Alex does come back at some point. So, there he is. Good man. He's back. Everything's aligned again. So yeah, I there we go. Yeah, I think just to touch on something there that you pointed out, Josh, that the skill set was glaringly obvious. You know that the wire is quite a long way behind Usyk, and he'll probably never get to that because not many boxers really do. But he's a young Dubois. Maybe he'll come again at some point in the future. He's got time to work on things, and I'm not sure if he'll be around in the title mix, but maybe he'll be at the upper echelons of the division for a while, and maybe he'll get some title shots in future. As for Usyk, he was like I said, I touched on before I came to you there, Josh. He was just the way that he turned things around after that low blow. He just seemed to kick into another gear, didn't he? And he just basically outfought Dubois. He got him out of there. He caught him with a few good shots. I know there was some talk on social media about whether they weren't really that powerful, the shots that put Dubois down and out, and whether he's got questions that he needs to answer in regards to that, because he got put down, I think, in his last fight a couple of times before he got his opponent out of there. Obviously he lost to Joyce quite a similar fashion, although his eye was smashed to pieces in that one, so you can forgive him for that. But yeah, it was like a kind of a stiff jab, wasn't it, that ended up dropping him at the end. I think he took his time getting back to his feet, and I think he probably would have continued, but the ref obviously waved it off, and it was probably the right idea. He wasn't complaining too much at that point. Obviously the complaints were afterwards was about the low blow and whether it was a low blow or not. My take on that one is, I think it was low, but only after being able to analyse that footage over and over and over again. There's been so many stills and slow motions. But initially, I didn't think it was low, because I think the initial angle that they showed it from, the slow motion on the broadcast, it kind of, one of the angles, it looks like it's just straight into the body, and it's not too bad. But then when you turn it to the opposite side, and you see it a little bit clearer, you can see it is quite low, and it is probably below the belt line, or at least borderline on the belt and below it. So I don't think you can have too many complaints about that. You could possibly complain that the referee was allowing Usyk to have a longer rest than he was even wanting, because at one point he said, "Yeah, I'm good to go," but the ref was like, "No, no, no, have another minute," which you don't really see often. But yeah, I know that Frank Warren and the trainer were really unhappy afterwards, and they're kicking up a fuss, and they want to have the result overturned or called a no contest and stuff. But I'm not sure if they're going to get too far with that. Let's see. Is Alex? Are you with us? Are you here? Is he lingering? It doesn't seem like it. Okay.
Yeah, he might be out. Might still be working on some of the technical aspects, but I did want to mention there. You did mention the rematch, Jim, and I think I'm not sure if I necessarily want to see a rematch. I don't think that, despite or taking away the knockdown situation or seemingly potential knockdown situation, I just don't know that Dubois has enough right now to even make it enough of a fight in the rematch to where it's something I'd be sort of anticipating or looking forward to, because I think Usyk, in all likelihood, would probably start a bit more aggressive this time around, knowing that he can press him and get him out of there potentially again. And I think that will probably play into the fold a bit in itself.
Okay, looks like Alex has disappeared again.
Yeah.
What I've got up on the screen with your split body there, Josh. Apologies for that. I thought we'd have a quick look at the combined scorecard on. We got quite a few users last night, just to see how many people might have given rounds to Dubois. I think I gave him 2 rounds. Do you recall what you scored it? Oh, looks like Alex is back. Hello.
Hey, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Just having a quick look at the average scorecard last night for Usyk and Dubois, and we'll come to your thoughts in a second, Alex. But I think I scored 2 rounds to Dubois. I gave him round 4 and possibly round 6, and that's what we got on the average here. So I think I had that same score, 78, 73, 6 rounds to 2. Do you recall what your scorecard was there, Josh?
I feel like I did give him 2 rounds as well. I think I gave him the 6th round, and there might have been maybe the 6th and the 7th, something of that nature. I can't remember exactly, but I believe it was 2 that I did give him. But that being said, I think that, yeah, the majority of them were Usyk rounds, clearly. And even the rounds for Dubois, at least I know one of them wasn't super definitive in terms of like, hey, there was an argument that could be made. It could have went the other way as well.
Yeah. All right. Are you with us, Alex?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, man. So give us your thoughts then on the display last night. Usyk, Dubois. Go ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. So I think it was, for the most part, it went the way most thought. Usyk jab was just superior to what Dubois was going to be able to do in the ring, to get out of the way defensively. Obviously, having the more technical jab. It looked like, especially in the beginning, that he was going to be able to land that jab whenever he wanted. I had like a clean sweep to the 3rd round, and apologies if my memory doesn't serve me properly, but I believe it was the 4th round is when this body shot happened, correct? Or was it a 5th?
5th round, I think.
5th, okay, yeah, because I know I gave the 4th round to Dubois. I remember he landed. It was a quieter round, but I liked the right hand that Dubois landed. So when that 5th round happened, he lands the body shot on the belt line. And now we all have become experts on what a low blow is or isn't. And it's so funny because there's experts on both sides now, right? Personally, I feel that it was a good shot. I felt that it was, right there on the belly button. So now, do we have to define where the waist is? Most people when they measure their waist, where do they do it? basically around the belly button, right?
Yeah.
I would say. So that shot was right there. Basically, he had a logo on his belt, right? And you know, target acquired. Hit. That's how I felt. A lot of people were talking about the angle of it.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I would say this, though I think it was a good shot. It seemed he wasn't really. I would say that maybe it affected his body, where it shouldn't be affected. I guess is a way I could put it. However, I do feel like it was a fair shot, and I think that the account should have been started. He didn't do it, right? They gave him 5 minutes, and he basically took almost all that time, and now we're left into what could have been. Usyk, after that, you could tell he was a little upset, and gets the knockout. 4 rounds later, they're talking about Herkovich, the IBF mandatory. I feel that we should get an end to this trilogy because I feel like that was 2 fights. We saw 2 knockouts, and yeah, they should do an immediate rematch. Though we all know who's probably going to win, Usyk, right? I think Dubois. I felt like he was kind of robbed of an opportunity to be the new unified champion, and yeah, it is what it is. It was called not a shot. He didn't take advantage of the opportunity because Usyk definitely was affected, like I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if he would have pressed, either he would have got knocked out earlier or got a clear knockdown that maybe could have ended the fight. Because I think he does punch through walls. That's what I always like to say about Dubois. He's real tight up top, but man, can he punch? And we saw that when Usyk felt that body shot right there on that target, he didn't want to get up. So, yeah, it's I don't know where he goes here, Dubois. I'd say, maybe get a couple of domestic fights and build your name up. He's young, and the guys that are at the top, they're a little bit on the back end. So, take your time, and you'll probably be back up there.
Yeah. I said something along them lines that he's young enough to come back and improve as well. Probably, I don't think he'll ever have the boxing skill set that Usyk's got. But I don't think the heavyweight division is brimming with talent. It's not been for years, and I don't think there's that many coming up either, apart from Anderson. Who else is there? So maybe Dubois can have a shot at being one of the top guys once a couple of the current crop of top guys have retired, which really isn't that long away, really, because a lot of them, the top people in the heavyweight division, are old, in boxing terms at least, anyway. So, yeah. I think that covers that fight. Quite interesting, actually. I was really expecting you to go, it was a low blow, Alex. Get out of it. It was a low blow. Usyk go, no problem. So I'm really shocked. I'm really shocked, actually. And I noticed that a lot of the comments on Twitter last night, a lot of the British people were kind of saying it was okay, it was a good shot, and then a lot of other people were just like saying no, it was definitely a low blow. It was a big, a big split and a big divide. So it kind of shows you how questionable it was. Both ways, low or not. So I think Dubois and Frank Warren can dine out on that at least for quite a while. He put the undisputed champion down and out for 4 minutes or whatever it was. So yeah, maybe that'll elevate him a little bit in some ways within the division. Whether they go and get a rematch, I'm not too sure that's going to happen, to be honest. And like I say, the way that Usyk then turned the fight around and he kind of dismantled Dubois after that, it was pretty impressive stuff. So I think it's just got to be Usyk versus Fury, hasn't it? Surely that's what boxing wants and needs. Let's get an absolute undisputed champion at heavyweight, and then we'll let Wilder and Josh make the most explosive fight that boxing currently can offer, and I think we'd all be happy with that.